Philip Topino, owner, Waft, where our families train, navigating danger, how families stay safe in everyday situations. Philip Topino founded Waft, where our families train, to provide scenario-based safety training, empowering individuals and families to handle real-life situations. Located on a 20-acre facility near Orlando, Florida, Waft combines practical skills with situational awareness. I'm thrilled to share the incredible insights from our latest episode. This time I had the pleasure of speaking with Philip, the founder and director of Waft. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Why you should tune in. Real life scenario, safety and instruction. Philip's facility, Waft, specializes in scenario-based training that prepares you for real life encounters. Imagine learning how to handle potentially dangerous situations in a safe, controlled environment. It's like a movie studio, backlot for personal safety. 2. Empowerment through awareness. We dive deep into the importance of situational awareness. Philip shares how being aware of your surroundings can make you a hard target and significantly reduce your risk of becoming a victim. 3. Practical self-defense tools. From flashlights to pepper spray, Philip explains how everyday items can be used creatively for self-defense. He even demonstrates how wind can affect pepper spray, emphasizing the need for practical experience and practice. 4. Family-friendly training. Waft isn't just for the hardcore enthusiasts. It's designed to be accessible and empowering for families, including mothers and children. Philip's goal is to create a welcoming environment where everyone can learn together. 5. Learning from mistakes. We talk about the importance of making mistakes in a safe environment. It's better to learn and correct errors during training than in real-life situations. 6. Hands-on experience. Online courses are great, but nothing beats the experience of being physically put under pressure in realistic scenarios. Philip and I both agree that everyone should experience purpose-based training or scenario training at least once. 7. Transformative outcomes. Hear inspiring stories like that of Lindsey Graham, aka Patriot Barbie, a former guest on this show, who credits Waft with saving her life through improved situational awareness. 8. Tailored training. Philip emphasizes the importance of creating a custom learning experience tailored to each participant's skill level and life experiences. This personalized approach ensures that everyone walks away with valuable, applicable skills. Curious yet? If you're intrigued by the idea of becoming more aware, prepared, and confident in your daily life, this episode is a must listen. Philip's passion for safety and education shines through, and his insights are both practical and empowering. So listen in to our latest episode and discover how you can enhance your personal safety and the safety of your loved ones. Visit the Waft website to learn more about their training programs and see how you can get involved. You can find Philip at the show links below. Just click on them. His website is waft.com. That's WOFT.com. And on Insta, Instagram.com/W.O.F.T. Thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator, subject matter expert from HowNotToDieGuy.com. And you're listening to my Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, sponsored by State, the ultimate daily formula for optimum hormone health, stress management, energy, and performance. 100% natural and clinically proven ingredients. Provides everything you need to raise your game in a convenient gut-friendly capsule. And my new sponsor, Michael Mason of the Mason Survival Protocol. Links for my former shows are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to my guest all the way from the USA again, Philip Topino. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I really appreciate you coming on. We set this up really quick. I found you through Patriot Barbie, otherwise known or AKA Lindsey Graham, an amazing woman. And I found her through Michelle Chandler, who you may or may not know of the name, but she's the woman who was in a changing room and a guy was filming her. And she basically accosted this guy and held him down for 20 minutes till the police came. And Lindsey was on that post and she shared it. And then Lindsey talked about what you do with WAFT, and we're going to unpackage those things. But Lindsay stated that going to WAFT saved her life. So, what is WAFT, and what do you guys do?
Thank you very much again for having me. And we're here today because everyone wants safety. My name is Philip. I'm the founder and director of WAFT. WAFT is a 20-acre private facility outside of Orlando, and we specialize in real-life scenario safety and instruction. I'm a husband for 24 years and father of two awesome kids, one who's 18 and a daughter now who's going to be turning 16. And I want safety for them when I'm not with them. And so that's why we designed and developed WAFT over 15 years ago. And we have a custom learning experience that brings value to people with their valuable time.
Now, you said a ton of words there, Philip, and I talked about Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie, a bit of an internet sensation. But when a SEAL Team 6 guy like Dom Raso, who I've been in contact with for many years, talks about your facility being world class, then it's saying something. And I've had a look at what you do. It's absolutely brilliant. But what's so great about it, and we just talked before we started recording, is it's encompassing. It's not scary, because these special forces guys in these scenarios, they're scary for the average person. So how did you change that for being accessible to the families, the housewives, the mums, the kids, that it does empower them and allow them to come along and train?
Great question. And yes, two awesome people you're referencing. We keep good friends. I want safety for my family, and when I can't always be with them, and I couldn't find exactly what I wanted when I traveled the country in a custom family learning experience, so I made my own. What makes WAF special is around scenario safety. That teaches everyone the skills necessary to handle real life encounters and empowers them to deal with the potentially harmful everyday situations that can happen.
Exactly right. Scenarios. I'm thinking back to first aid. I remember doing my first aid course. I think I was 17 years old, and gosh, I just turned 51 last week, and so it's a lot of years. But you're doing the lessons, and then doing the little practice on your partner and so on. But then when the scenarios come, completely different. Even I get a little bit of nerves, and you should, because it gives you a little bit of anticipation, a little of you perform really well, performance anxiety, but you perform. But scenarios are where it's at. So, learning these moves in self-defense, learning your firearms safety, your driving. But when you put in a scenario, that changes everything, doesn't it?
Well, when I say scenario safety, a lot of them they get that glaze over because if they haven't had any type of situational or safety training, I like to explain it like this. Every day, every one of us enter and exit scenarios. We go to the grocery store, we go to gas stations, we walk our dog, we go to a restaurant, we travel on airplanes to other countries. These are all scenarios, a simple part of our everyday lives. And many enter and exit these scenarios quite oblivious to their surroundings. With the advent of cell phones, many are completely distracted. Now, generally, it's not a problem. And most of the time, it's all quite civilized. At WAFT, we create a safe learning environment where we can start to focus on the moments when it's not. What happens when a stranger approaches you? What happens when someone starts to follow you? What happens if someone becomes aggressive and now your scenario has become a situation? Depending on the state, the country you live in, what would you do? And legally, what should you do? So that's us in a nutshell. At WAFT, we teach everyone, moms, dads, parents, spouses, how to deal with these very real encounters so that everyone can be empowered to manage these very difficult situations.
I think you've really, and it's not just my thoughts, but all the people I've seen that have celebrated what you do, Phil, is so important, because I was a police officer here in Perth in Western Australia after I left the Special Forces. And at the police academy, and I still smile every time I say those words, the police academy, um, we did all the lessons. You do your empty hand training, you do your range training, you do your lawful use of force. But then we go out and we put that into the scenario houses, and you'd have actors there. You'd have a bar, you'd have a noise complaint, and then it would all be all be videotaped, I think, like you have, and you'd wind that back, and the whole class would be going through it, having a bit of a laugh as well, because it's safe. But when I got out of the academy, I used those scenarios. I looked back on those and used them when I was in those situations, and I could draw upon those tools.
It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to react faster while under stress. So a lot of times I get that question, how does it work? WOF classes start with education and awareness. We teach you both what to do and how to do it. And then the real magic happens, what you just referenced. We've all watched a behind the scenes episode on how TV shows or movies are made. Well, think of Loft like a movie studio backlot where you're the featured star. And now we set up the scenes like a parking garage interaction, or you visit a coffee shop. Then we put you in the scenario and hit play.
Yeah.
So imagine a safe environment, and then we get to learn and apply safety concepts. And so the scenario might be, okay, Mary, you're walking to your car in a parking garage and you're getting off the elevator, and just walk to your car and get in like you always do. So she might walk to her car and nothing happens, because we talk about what's more likely to happen is nothing. But what Mary might encounter on following reps are what we call pre-fight indicators, where someone might approach her. And then she's looking for these pre-fight indicators, and that's what she goes off of, teaching her how to think and how to react in a real life situation. And learning how to apply safety concepts in real time when under stress is how you gain real experience from real situations, which produce transformative outcomes and very, very real learning results.
On top of that, Phil, and I love, I teach it in my classes and courses. I love that you've got the ability for them to make mistakes safely where you are, because I'd rather have them make all the mistakes with me, or if they're at WAFT, all the mistakes with you, than on the day, right?
Absolutely. I'm started to follow what you do, and it really comes down to education. And we need more education out there so people can make educated decisions. And I feel like that's the mission for WAFT ultimately, is educate elected representatives and other people so that they can make educated decisions. And people regularly ask us, can I experience this sort of thing you do online? Is there a video I can watch? And both you and I put out very good content on concepts. And it's one thing that, is there an active tutorial? And the answer to all of this, unfortunately, is no. There is no substitute for a live, in-person, custom learning experience. And so we can show them, but until you actually get them in the moment, we don't know how they're going to react, which is why I say everyone should get scenario training at least once.
It's so true. If anybody's listening to this stage, what Phil said or watching is probably one of the most crucial things of this whole interview, I would suggest. We haven't even finished, nowhere near it. I've taught for about 23 years, Phil, and a majority of females that come along, they talk a big game. They say, yep, I do that on the day. And so just yesterday, I had a couple of brand new models. We're doing some content, great women, and clever, and they can move, and they're really athletic. And I was teaching them just a simple eye gouge, the old World War II, hand in the face and eye gouge. And every woman I've ever trained, and that's over 1,000 over the 23 years, I say to them, when are you going to do this? Now, don't give me a facial, don't give me a nose job, don't give me a nice little eye rub. And we all have a laugh. And I'm doing that to make everybody feel at ease, of course. But it turns out that's exactly what they do, because as Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman, and he's got pros and cons, but one of them was quite true. Another species doesn't want to kill or maim another species. And the next thing they say, I don't want to hurt you, but I do it on the day if I had to. And I say, no, that's the most important thing. You will not do it on the day unless you practice. So Phil, you're right. You can do the online courses, you can practice and so on, but until you're physically put under pressure in a realistic scenario and ramped up from safely to more and more pressure and stress, on the day is how you're going to perform. And if you haven't been exposed to it, you will not perform very well.
Yeah, we talk about training scars. And training scars is especially on our side is potential bad people. When we're training with somebody, we need to be good bad people. And what I mean by that is if I'm wearing Tony Blauer spear gear and someone gives me a palm strike to the face, I would really feel that if it hit me without that on. And so you
Yeah.
see a lot of people, they put a bunch of gear on and they just beat the heck out of each other as if blows to the face or the head are not going to affect you. And they're RoboCops,
Yeah.
and so that's something that is a big thing, that what makes us different at WAFT. And earlier you referenced law enforcement, and it's fantastic. Law enforcement, military, and Dom Rosso, WAFT family, and all of them. He brings he trusts me, which is a great honor to me to bring his family to me and to show and work on concepts. And the fact that I can bring his family some value is it's a big blessing to me. But
That's
there's
that's
something.
the difference with the families too. We'll come into that. Carry on.
It's hugely valuable to understand the enormous differences between something like law enforcement or military style training versus a civilian experience. So, for example, you have to put yourself in the proper context, understanding that the starting point typically for military law enforcement is that they're going into harm's way,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to take control of a situation or likely restrain a bad person. And that has little application to civilians in their day-to-day life. When they need
Exactly.
to hard focus on is more avoiding conflict first.
Yep.
So that's the challenge that I see a lot of instructors from the outside, looking in, that are retired military law enforcement, and you're only as good as who trained you. So what allowed me, as I did well in commercial real estate many years ago, and I was able to travel the country and train with experts like you, and I came up with our own learning experience from a civilian perspective. So we're focused more on real life of everyday people, everyday scenarios that are more likely to happen. Those ego-based scenarios where it might be something, it might not. Road rage, someone cuts you off in line or is being rude in a public place,
Yep.
and then someone engages with them. So there's a huge number of variables, and those potentially catastrophic results regarding and legal consequences. And like you said, you guys are in Australia, and we're in Florida in the United States. So the legal consequences of defending yourself before, during, and after an attack or altercation is life changing, and no one else is doing this, and nothing else is like it, from our experience.
Exactly right. There's a bit to unpack there, but I did want to talk about actual WAFT. Can you explain the acronym, what it is now?
Yeah, so it started off as West Orlando Firearms Training. And that was back in the day when I was an affiliate for Gabe Suarez and I had to get insured. And I was just doing this because I was traveling the country, and my wife was like, "Can't you find some place around here to do this? Why do you keep traveling around the country?" And I was like, "Well, you know, in other places, due to liability, they won't let you draw from a holster.
Yeah.
They won't let you draw from concealment. They won't let you do certain things that you at traditional standard gun ranges, they won't let you draw, and they won't let you draw and move." So we created that, and it grew into purpose-based learning. When I got certified with the Force Science Institute, it really turned into something where friends were asking me, "Hey, can you train my spouse? Hey, I've got some kids that really need to know this, but they don't need that alpha male atmosphere where it's not family welcoming. It can be
Yeah.
very intimidating."
Yeah.
So we WAFT has merged and evolved into where our families train, because we want to make sure that the bathrooms are clean and that it's a welcoming environment. That, yeah, like you referenced earlier, you smile and you joke and you laugh, but it's all built around safety, and it's built around purpose-based learning. What's more likely to happen? And then we talk about throttling to your skill set, meaning we start with people that have no experience, and we empower and inspire them with safety concepts and how they apply those safety concepts to them based on where they live and what tools they have available to them and the legality of that. So for example, in Florida, 21 years old, you cannot carry concealed if you get, skilled and trained and proper to handle force multipliers.
Yep.
So with children and with kids, that you we focus on what you can travel and carry every day, which is a flashlight. You can carry it in any gun-free zone. You can take it on an airplane. And so those are the things that we teach, how to think more than what to think, if that makes sense.
It really does. And I love that you've made it where our families train. And again, we spoke just briefly before we started recording about SF guys and guys in my world. And I say guys, and there are some females out there like that as well. Maybe law enforcement. Rosie Rosie Kabar on Instagram. She's a SWAT officer, amazing woman, and great show. But I mean, I speak to a Green Beret buddy every day, and I remember a while back he say, I tell my wife this stuff for 20 years. She's never listened to a word I say, but she watches all your videos because we are going to go around and see things before it happens. We're us people that are situation we're trained. We're probably not going to get in trouble as much as the wife who has some road rage guy come up to her or something kicks off, or as you said, your 16-year-old, something might happen. And we're not there all the time. We love to be protectors. That's our job. Absolutely. But we can't be there all the time. If we were, it'd be helicopter parents. And it's great that you're empowering them to avoid that situation, because for them, like you said, it's either totally avoid because they saw it, or it's gone terribly bad straight away. There's no jujitsu going to go down and no restraint or anything going to go down. We want to stop the fight before it happens.
Absolutely. One of the greatest challenges is how do we begin to convey an experience, a custom learning experience. It's kind of like the Grand Canyon. If you've never been there, I can show you photos, I can tell you stories, but until you're standing at the edge with that entire vastness spread out before you, that you truly understand the depth, the breadth and the beauty of such a place. It's not until you're there. It's not until you have that adrenaline dump where you're in a training situation and I'm wearing gear. And now I actually have the ability to come up and touch you based on the gear you're wearing. You get that adrenaline dump. And now all the things that you thought you might do, you just simply have to react. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's not until you're there. It's in the experience that transcendence happens. And this is our challenge.
Now, you got people coming from all around the world. I had a look through your website and your social media. It was great to see. Going back to Lindsey Graham, how I heard the words waft, or the word, and found out what it was. She spoke so highly of you. From what Lindsey said, she did a 2-day course with you. I think she even took her family. She's doing range time, all this stuff. You saved her life with situation awareness and just picking up on that doesn't feel right. And then she took action, because as you referenced Tony Blauer before, Tony Blauer, in interviewing all the victims he's ever interviewed, they always say something didn't feel right, but I didn't want to be impolite. Something didn't feel right, but I didn't want to say something. Well, Lindsey took action, and what you showed her in that Grand Canyon, showed her, not just showing her photos, that had something kick off in her brain, and it stopped her from either being kidnapped and trafficked, or actually physically assaulted or worse, and it saved her life, Philip. So for you actually showing her that Grand Canyon and taking her into it, it wasn't any gunplay. She's come out of the airport. There's no weapons involved. It was absolutely brilliant what you put into her brain. You put in files that she could access, and it worked.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And that's something that, it really is a higher calling, something I'm driven to do to help people. And what I've done is I have to give credit to everyone that I've trained with and has trained me in the past. So guys like Don Rossa, when I mentioned Tony Blowers, I took one of his instructor courses and I've trained with him before. And, these pioneers that laid the breadcrumbs along the way, if you will, that we kind of learn from everybody, and then we kind of make our own interpretation of these types of skill sets. And I would say, if I could summarize WAFT, it would be that we are that blank white canvas that you could come with your family, and depending on what your skill set is, we give you the paint, and that blank white canvas to paint whatever portrait that you want, and we set up the atmosphere that allows for organic learning. So in other words, what really helped Lindsay is the fact that we didn't tell her what to do. We gave her we gave situations and we allowed her to first see how she would react naturally. And that's something that you can't do without a custom learning experience. So what I mean is you come to a class and there's 6 of you and they put all of you outside and they bring you in one at a time for scenarios, because if you watch the person ahead of you, it's going to ruin your experience because they have 4 or 5 staged runs.
Of course.
What we do is we focus on concepts. So how you apply those concepts are going to be different based on your physicality and your life experience, and how you would react based on what's happened to you so far in your life. But it's real and how you're going to react. So the WAF training, and what we like to do is we see what you're going to do naturally, and then we start to give you a little bit of suggestions on what to do. So your second run now is completely custom based on what you did on your first, and your third run now is completely custom based on what you did on your second, but it's based on the fundamentals of how you're going to react. So
Yeah.
we strip all that stuff away. So the retention is through the roof, and it's like a think tank. So your family can be in there with you and they're watching you. So everyone stays in upstairs and everyone gets to watch everyone else. So instead of 5 people and each of you get 5 runs, you get 25 runs mentally, good reps, 5 runs just for yourself. And so that's where I believe we were able to really bring Lindsay, and we bring everyone here value, is we don't shortcut anything. We only train is the amount of people that we can guarantee that kind of a learning experience. And it really is that student to instructor ratio. And that process that I learned, that when I was traveling the country, I would have invested more training with these experts if I could have got some more custom attention to me. And that's the challenge that we face, that when someone says scenario training, WAF scenario training, everything's included. And everything, I mean, everything from the proper gear to the proper, anything that you might need, up to a 3-to-1 student to instructor ratio. And sometimes, as you know, in scenarios, it can be inverted. So we'll have sometimes where there's 6, 7 instructors, because now you are keeping everything in front of you, and you walk into a room and you're like, all right, there's Philip, there's somebody over there, there's 3 of them. I know there's one more coming, and you're gaming it, you're cheating.
Yeah.
So what we do is we build a scene and we put you in it so that you simply have to react to what happens. You can't track 15 people. You can't track 20 people. And that's the kind of cool stuff that, we start slow, but then we start to ramp up, and it's potentially life-changing for many people that are highly trained. But a lot of times, you referenced earlier, it takes a village. So I'm here for you. I'm here for everyone else out there that is highly trained, and they want to get their family, and they want to pull their family in. They want them to, as Dom says, they want them to be more of an asset, or at least neutral, but not a liability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's so clever. And Dom's great at that, talking about being an asset. Look, it's just such a missing link that you've got there for the community. And I'm just hearing the synergies between what you teach at WAFT and what I was taught, or all the special forces was taught through our unarmed combat and armed combat. And we learn principles. We don't learn rules, it's principles, and then you can apply the tools however you see fit. But what's great is, the World War II combatives is based on actual human instinct, because I say to people in the start of the class, our soldiers, we aren't too smart and we haven't got much time before we have to go to war. So you got to train us really quick with what works. We can't do some fancy kung fu or stuff that takes years. And I love the BJJ guys. My 8-year-old boy has got more skills at BJJ than I would ever have. I can't comprehend this stuff, but I can still do some good damage. But it's got to be based on actual human instinct. And when you said, Phil, you're going to see what they do naturally and then build on that, you don't have time to retrain them for years. You're not taking them through a bodyguard course and teaching them the exact rules and ways to do it. You're actually building upon using the principles you learn, building on how they do it, and also their situations that they see them in. So really, really clever, and such a missing link for the civilian population, because apart from WAFT, you'd have to go to a bodyguard school, you'd have to join an elite unit and actually go through those months of training to get those scenarios.
Well, I mean, and when you go to those, you're there with a bunch of strangers and you can talk to a group, but you can only train a person.
Yeah.
And you're with a group and you break off and you try to find the most highly skilled person there so you can partner with them. But if you don't get someone who's partnered, now and that's the standard operating procedure for the entire industry. And so what we do is just imagine a 3-to-1 or a 2-to-1 instructor to student ratio with subject matter experts. So that's WAFT. It's not me by myself. It's me with a pool and a team that has grown organically of people that also really care, that are subject matter experts, that we focus on. You're right, you could be highly skilled in empty hand, and we have guys that are instructors of ours that have multiple degrees and multiple you know different types of martial arts training.
Yep.
But the moment you add a blade, or the moment you add a force multiplier, a lot of that BJJ stuff, you could be distracted focusing on, hey, we're not in a match and there is no tap out.
Yeah.
And so that's where it comes to force multipliers, and why we focus on things like flashlights and other things that you can keep with you at all times. Because again, you're in Australia, and there's a lot of places that when you go to a concert or you go on an airplane to fly, and like Lindsay was, and you land,
Yep.
a lot of times, depending on if you're not checking bags, you only have what you can carry.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
it's your mindset. And then we found a lot of value years ago in flashlights, and we hard focus on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you're at a gas station and a stranger approaches you, and then 10, you have an immediate imminent threat on yourself or your loved ones, and now you're justified in using some type of lethal force to stop that threat. There's such a spectrum in between that we talk about on a scale of 1 to 10. I would say level 4 is where distance is broken down, and now we have to literally push danger away, and you start to engage with that fear factor, and outside 90 and all that good stuff. And that's where the empty hand stuff comes in. I would say at WAFT, we really hard focus on, and we live, eat, and breathe on step 1, right? Seeing it coming, thinking under stress, and then avoiding it. And then, step 2, if you do step 1 right, it might not go to step 2. You want to deflect. I want my 16-year-old that when she's at a gas station and a stranger approaches her, I want her to be doing things that I want her to be learning how to interrupt the way that person thinks by doing something they don't expect. And the way they implement those strategies and the timing at which they do that is what's going to determine that potential further interaction with that stranger. And so that's what we've kind of rolled back and uncovered. Your listeners, you've probably heard the SEAL commander that talks about make your bed every morning when you wake up.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's a great video, and it talks about you set the pace for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Wake up and make your bed. And at the very least, when you come back at the end of the day, your bed's made, so you've accomplished things. And so for us, that really hit hard, and it really resonates with me. So it's like taking these world-class experts that we've been talking about, and then backing up to where it's not that sexy Hollywood whatever, but it's core-based fundamentals on teaching people how to think in those initial interactions, and then teaching them how to think. And then, like I said, it's just it's life changing, and it's something that I want for every school. I want this for all of the people that you care about should go through real life scenario safety and instruction. And it's something that we're looking to license and scale more of what we do, and use our facility, our 20-acre multi-million-dollar learning center.
Yep.
And we want to be a resource so that other instructors can come and bring their family, and we can bring them value and train the trainer, if you will, just on our concept.
No, that's brilliant. Really is brilliant. And your facility is world class, like Dom said. But I looked at it, and I related it to Olive Group, which not many of the listeners and viewers would know, but it's a high end, let's call them mercenaries, private military contracting facility where there's like race tracks and ranges and demolitions and so on. Really world class. But yours is world class for what you're doing. You said something there, Philip. You said mindset. I was just saw DJ Shipley, a SEAL Team 6 guy that's been on the show. He's with GBRS Group. And one of the things you can take as your EDC everywhere is your physical preparedness. Same thing as your mindset. You know, you get off that plane, your mindset, Phil Lindsay was just looking around, hang on a sec, that looks weird. You know, your mindset may be, okay, I'm always going to have a pen, I'm going to have a torch, I've got something there. Or it could be, I'm going to get in my car and lock the doors. All those sort of things. It's not about those John Wick fancy moves. And just to reiterate what you're saying for listeners and the viewers, just from a different angle, I was lucky enough to have Gary Fahey, who was the head bodyguard for the Australian Prime Minister here. He ran the team. And he stated his job is to, with the Prime Minister, run away and hide. That's what a real bodyguard does. You're not there to get in the sexy fights that you're talking about. That's for the Hollywood. That's for, Jason Bourne. We don't want those things to happen. And if they do, we haven't done our job. So I don't want my family to have to go through a fight or actually use their car to smash someone out of the way. I want them to see it well before it happens, and then it's someone else's problem and sure as hell not theirs. So mindset, as you said, Philip, that working that 1 to 4 sort of range, that stops all that bad stuff from happening unless it's completely ambushed. You've got dad brain on, you got mum brain on, you got 2 kids hanging off you, and it just didn't go well. But that's where your scenario training is going to fill that gap, isn't it?
It's going to help you learn how to react faster
Yeah,
and think more critically while under stress.
yeah,
And again, from a civilian perspective, which I am one, I don't have a military or law enforcement background. I became a husband. I was a collegiate athlete, and I did my exercise. I did my workout today and cold plunge before the show.
right on.
And it's one of those things where I grew up around firearms, but it was never the intent of, hey, I might have to use this. It wasn't until I got married that I started really focusing and being concerned with, hey, when I'm not with you, how can you be safer without me?
Yeah,
And then when the kids came along, it's like, now not only have to take care of yourself, you have to take care of someone else. And you have a, you might, depending on where you live, you might have a duty to retreat, but in some places you can't. So what can you do and what can you carry with you? And what you alluded to earlier is, you want to avoid the fight. Well, with us, really hard focusing on what we call being a hard target, or, a potential predator who's approaching us, we want to deflect them.
yeah.
We want them to think twice about approaching us. And that's again where the tools come in, combined with the mindset training. Our first tool is to learn how to think. The second tool is, what things can we have and carry with us? And that's what you referenced earlier. I think you said a torch. I'm going to
Yeah.
assume that meant flashlight.
Yeah, torch and a pen. You have to excuse my accent, but that's PEN. A nice sharp pointy thing to use as a tool.
Absolutely. With the proper instruction, those things that you just talked about can do more than you could ever imagine, as you know.
Yeah.
People ask us all the time, what's up with the flashlight? Why is this flashlight, why do you take it with you everywhere? And to sum it up, it's small, it's inconspicuous, it's multi-purpose, and with the proper training, it can save and deflect and help save someone's life. We use it to learn how to interrupt the way a predator is thinking by doing something they don't expect. And by using a flashlight, for example, we can magnify and project our voice. And it makes a statement to strangers and potential predators that they should stay away. And we have a tool. And as you know, if we have one tool, we might have another tool. So
Exactly.
just like we also study nature, and the goal for nature, and especially for things that are like a caterpillar or a butterfly, their goal is to startle and intimidate predators, and that will typically make them reconsider engaging in an attack, if they might get hurt. So neophobia, the fear of the unknown, a lot of neat stuff that we study and we focus on. Nature already has it figured out. So that's the cool part of just having things with us that just help magnify what we're doing. And that's what we found is very, very valuable. And it helps remind us when we're going in what we call a transitional space, which is, as you know, is from your car to the gym, or
Yeah.
for, going to the grocery store, going to a gas station. Those transitional spaces in nature, we talk about things that are very dangerous, would be a watering hole,
Yeah.
right? Animals hang out around watering holes, especially around drought time, because they know that the animals have to go to that. Well, watering holes for us are those transitional spaces. And while it can be anywhere outside your home, we want to give it a lot more attention, especially when we're traveling. So, someone like Lindsay, that's why it was great for her that she was on more of a, not paranoid, not more of a high alert, but she was learning through scenario training to scan her world for things that are unusual. And when she sees something unusual, give it more attention. And then add to that the training that when you get that, when you see something unusual and you give it more attention, and now you're added to that additional stress because it's real. We try to simulate that as much as possible so that, again, the first time a stranger approaches you, we do not want it to be the first time a stranger approaches you.
Exactly. With Lindsay, it was interesting. She spoke about, and the show will come out soon. She stated, and I'll see if I can get it exactly right. Normally, in the at the collecting your luggage, she'd be on her phone doing her social media because that's how she makes her money, and she wasn't. She'd made a decision that she'd actually look around a bit more. So straight away, that got her in that mindset. Like you said, Philip, not paranoid, but just a bit aware. Now, I'm not sure if you saw the stabbings in Australia about 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago in Bondi. It's a place over Sydney, but there was a guy rampaging through the mall, and he stabbed about 9 people, and he was shot immediately by a police officer that was not on duty. She was shopping. It was a huge thing here in Australia, like literally in a mall, and three things happened that were pretty amazing. One, because you saw all the CCTV. One was he turned and ran towards a family, and they were running away, and there was the kids and the mum, and then the dad was at the rear. The dad turned around and faced him, and he deflected off, just like you used the words deflect. I'm trying to sort of unpack what you said. He deflected off and found another easier um, target. Like you said, a hard target, or the correct word would be victim in this case. He deflected off. You saw him run, the bad guy with a huge knife, and he went away from that guy. The guy had no weapons on him, but he was just a bit of trouble. He was a hard target. But then another thing that this scared the hell out of me, there was a juice bar in the mall, and a dad is there with his two little kids. And I said dad brain before. He's looking at his little kids, and this in the background, you see this deranged killer run past him with a knife. He must have been looking at something else. This dad, I swear, when he saw the news, he would freak out because he didn't see this guy. He had his back to him. And as a protector of his kids, he would have failed. He was just lucky he didn't see it. It was amazing to see situation awareness, the difference within 30 seconds. One dad protect his family, turn towards the threat, which is what I teach. You've got to see it, turn towards it, and try and take action. One guy didn't even see it and was just sheer luck that he survived. So, there's a real world examples here in Australia 6 weeks ago that is exactly what you're talking about, and then practicing in your scenarios there.
Yeah, it's a real, unfortunately, I cannot raise my kids the same way that I was raised. The world we live in is changing dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's something that I refer to the old adage that nobody ever wants to buy a 1/4 inch drill bit. What they really want is a 1/4 inch round hole, right? It's the same with a flashlight or a firearm or pepper spray or even a
Yeah.
security system for someone's home. Nobody wants to buy a security system for their home. What they want is to feel secure. What they want is a better sense of security, all of which comes back to scenario training, safety training with your family, flashlights, other things that, just make it a unique learning experience that you want to practice for something and make it a fun hobby, something you never want to fail at. And that's what all the BJJ guys do, is they find a new purpose, and it's very empowering and it's great. And it's one of those things where, man, the more tools I have in my toolbox, all the better for it. And if you're not physically fit, you come back to the mindset training.
Yep.
World-class, athletes, they visualize, and you can learn a lot. I mean, that's this Force Science does a great job of this, that there's a lot of people that if you visualize every day and you watch enough videos, you can get, you know, probably pretty good when it comes to safety, but you have to internalize it and make it a part of yourself, because you or I, no matter how much training we have, if we're not paying attention and someone catches us off guard, we're already behind the curve.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's the
Behind.
part where, with a flashlight, for example, that's what Miss Lindsay, it helps remind you, because it's in your pocket every day. So you grab
Yep.
your keys and you grab your wallet, but you also grab a flashlight.
Yep.
And it's something that just helps remind you why people wear bracelets on their hand, their wrists and other things, where you look down at it and it gives you that little reminder that when you're in a public area nowadays, no matter where that is, you need to be looking for things that are unusual and aware of your surroundings. And if you're not doing that, there is potential. There's potential.
You're right.
Bad things can happen anytime, anywhere, by anyone.
That's the reality. I'd like to cover two things. I'm going to ask about EDC in a second because you've brought it up a few times, and it's going to be varied for different scenarios, countries, and so on. But I'll touch on that. But before that, you mentioned pepper spray, and I mentioned this attack in Bondi, and there's been many more here afterwards. And there was one in America with a woman putting groceries in her car just the other day as well, which was really sad to see. And immediately, so many women here, because this guy, unfortunately, in Sydney was actually after females. He was a real nutter, and most of them are. So many women wanted, oh, we should all carry pepper spray. Now, I've used the stuff as a police officer. Pretty much end up spraying myself most of the time. So I went and got some inert spray, and I used it in a couple of courses that I did, and I give it to a female. I show them, this is how to use it. Have a little practice. Yep, good, got that. Yep, okay. Put it in your purse. Okay. Now, how do you carry a purse? And they zip it up. Okay, let's go. Boom. And this is what you related to with the Grand Canyon before. They can see pepper spray online. Oh, that's really good. And now it's in their handbag, and now I've grabbed them, or I've gone to stab them with something. And I'm not making fun of them. I just want them to know that that's not a clever tool. And then when I show them the torch, Phil, here's the torch. And then when they get on, the bad guys there on top of you can also use it. But you can't use that piece of plastic tubing that shoots out some pepper, which is amazing. But it was never designed for that. It wasn't designed for self-defense. It's designed for arresting someone, for stopping a bad guy from doing bad things at range.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you brought up pepper spray. Would you agree, disagree, or anything to add to that?
Absolutely. A pepper spray, again, it's just, so we inert, and you mentioned inert pepper spray, so it's fantastic. There's a lot of people that come to us, and I always ask, do you carry pepper spray? And the ones that say yes, I'll say, have you ever used it? What do you mean? Well, how are you going to react if some of it gets on you? Have you ever taken your pepper spray out and actually sprayed it? Because they don't get their finger under the cap, or they don't push it, or I'm like, okay, here's inert pepper spray. Spray me right here in the chest.
Yeah.
And the stream goes that way, or it goes over this way. And I'm just
it's
standing
windy
there. So correct. So it's just another tool, but it's something that, so when you talk about everyday carry, the first thing that we always talk about is mindset training and scenario training.
Yeah.
The second thing for us, our go-to, is a flashlight, because like you referenced earlier, you can push danger away. This can be what we call a roll of quarters.
Yep.
Where a lot of people, and I also ask that a lot of people have not had a lot of empty hand training or what have you. And I say, no problem. Have you ever used a hammer to hammer a nail? If you can hammer a nail with a hammer, you can use a flashlight to defend yourself. And so those are the concepts that we talk about, which is more of the gross motor skill.
Yep.
That, if I'm just going to try to hurt you, I'm just going to caveman attack you. And that's what the BJJ guys learned really quick, that yes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is fantastic, but you really have to put a lot of time into that. A couple hours a day, a couple days a week for 6 months, that if I just go just to attack you, that motor skill is going to kick in. You're going to be able to apply all of those things.
Yep.
So at a WOF class, the first thing we focus on is distance is your friend. When distance breaks down, keeping good base, but strike to get distance, strike. And then if something bad happens, as you know, most bad things happen on the ground. So how do we fall without getting whiplash? All
Exactly.
BJJ concepts, right? But we don't want to stay on the ground. There could be, there's rats running packs. There's always more than one bad person.
Yep.
So I don't want to fight on the ground. I don't want to swim in the sea of all that good stuff. I want to get up, but how do we get up safely?
Yep.
So those are all the concepts that, yes, it's great to learn how to get out of a headlock, but the first question is, how do I get in it? And
Yes.
if you only have 2 days and you're Miss Lindsay and you're really busy and you're a super mom and you're running around the country and you're educating people and you only have 2 days to work on your own safety, that's what we hard focus on. I would say more the Cliff Notes version that, and what we tell people is the more time you give us, the better you get. But for right now, if nothing else, if you're only here for 2 days, these are certain things that we want you to know before you leave. And it's a lot of things that people skip over in other classes because they don't think it's sexy enough, or they don't feel like, it's just you're only as good as who trained you. So this is something that we've developed our own process because we've been able to, like, for example, we're Madagascar, we're New Zealand, we broke off from Australia hundreds of millions of years ago, and we're able to kind of evolve, in a little
Yeah.
cave on our own. And so we've come up with a couple different things that most people in the industry might not look at, or they might have overlooked, because again, it's before you get to the fight.
Yep.
It's before something happens. And then, yes, if you have more time, then we'll teach you good base and lock and get that down and get that rear naked choke. And, but it's like, by the way, did you forget that I also am carrying a blade concealed on me? And now that rear naked choke, and the stuff we go over with Dom, where that thing comes out and now you start to dig in. And it's like, there's always a move and a counter move, right? Which is
Yep.
what we try to avoid, going down those rabbit holes or those silos when we're talking about someone for the very first time who just wants to learn safety. So everyone that's watching this, if you're looking to, or you have a loved one that you would like to get them up to speed, so that, and again, not in a negative way, but the way we talk about it, we don't want them as a liability. A liability is someone that needs someone to help them. We want to bring them up to the level that they're at least neutral, so that they can take care of themselves. And then what Dom talks about as an asset is someone who can take care of themselves and help someone else. So that's why I'm here as a husband and as a dad, that I want to be that safe place that we can have everyone that we care about be more of an asset, not only for themselves, but for the people that they care about. And that's what WAFT is built around, is that we are unapologetically aggressive, that, we are going to have the best equipment and make it as safe. And with your valuable time, if and when you fly over from Australia and you come all this way, we need to guarantee that custom learning experience. And by going through something like that, it is potentially, life changing. And it's something that, for example, gosh, what are the odds that Lindsay, less than a few days to a week after traveling and training with us, and she's coming back and she's bringing the family back in coming January, she's going to bring the
Great.
family back. So we're really excited to meet the rest of the WAFT family, grow the tribe.
Yeah, exactly. It is a tribe and a community of good people with some skills, like you say, assets. Um, you've really explained WAF so well, and you were so right then in that small part you were saying. Situation awareness, which you didn't state specifically, but it is that. It's so glossed over, it's so generically said, but it stops the things from happening. I was just thinking back to, I hired the models, and yesterday we did a bunch of videos, and I threw a quick one up about the belt around the neck, and that literally happened, as you were probably aware, in the Bronx about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And the just not having headphones in at no, let's run it back. A female walking around at 3 a.m. with headphones on, she has every right to do that, 100%. But if she had a bit more information of 3 a.m., it's nighttime, if I don't have my headphones on, I might hear somebody behind me, that likely wouldn't have happened. And then you wouldn't have to learn some special forces guy teaching what to do if somebody puts a belt around your neck. It just shouldn't happen to good people. And that's the bit that's been missed, that WAFT is obviously filling the gap on. I talked
Yeah.
about people I talked about people flying from all around the world to see you, and obviously people through America as well. But Phil, for the listeners, how do they go and find out more about you? How do they get on a course? How do they get some of these skills that we talked about that I believe are absolutely vital and is why I wanted to get you on the show?
No, thank you. Appreciate it. Woft.com, WOFT.com. Many years ago, I overpaid for that website to make it as easy as possible because it used to be warrant officer flight training from a
Oh,
military branch.
wow.
Right. So yeah, I went over and did that. And it's something that, you know, the real value, the usefulness, and the practicality and advantage of simple, safety concepts applied with a family. That's when it's fully realized,
Yep.
and it worked exceptionally well for everyday people in their everyday lives. And it's scenario training done properly. It's non-lethal and it's immensely practical, and it can be carried absolutely anywhere, as you know, all the time. And it's something that I wish for everyone. So that's the big takeaway is our website. It goes straight to me. I've got a team underneath that does a really good job of getting information, but we have a new website and we want to make it as easy as possible for people to learn about what we do and then register. So the takeaway is, if you're not a gun owner, uh, we make it work for you. If you are a gun owner, we make it work for you. And we work very hard to help responsible people and potentially new gun owners navigate the sea of options and information out there. So I always say there's a lot of information, but not a lot of knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's something that, thank you very much, and good on you for doing what you do and for spreading the message. And again, it just comes down to education. And you're right. They should have the right to walk at night. Um, and it's something that we want to help make everyone safer, because that lady has changed forever. She might not have been killed, but she's changed for the rest of her life. And I don't want that for anyone. If what we're doing can help save just one person, it makes it all worth it.
I love that you said that, Phil, and I'm fairly sure you've never listened to any of the shows. And I say to people on the show, and when people ask me about the podcast, I interview the best people in the world at what they do. From world record holders to, there was a New Zealand All Blacks coach a couple months ago, to special forces guys and scientists. Just about every one of them, because I interview very good people. They're there to help people, but some of them say, if there's one thing that we said in this show that can help one person, we've done our job, because that's something that's our purpose, is to help others. So I love that you said that. And that's, yeah, I mean, I could talk forever on this show about what you do, but you're filling such a gap, and it's so important. And I just hope that everyone listening just jumps on the website and just has a look, because that first look is that little spark. And I think that can save someone's life.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to share what I believe is important information, not only to our community here in Central Florida, but the community at large around the world. Everyone wants safety.
100%. I've got people in Florida that I'll speak with you about hooking up with offline. But Philip, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for arranging to come on the show so quickly. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you and sharing your knowledge. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator and former Australian police officer, and your podcast host. Please check out my new project at hownottoDieGuy.com, where I teach everything you need to know to both males and females, at-risk populations, schools, kids, and the elderly, for self-defense, situation awareness, and all-round skills that every good person should know. Thanks for watching.